Hello everyone, welcome to a little discussion video going through the whole of Doctor Who Series 1. I mean, it technically is Series 1, isn't it? It should...
Yeah.
What was it? Series 14, Series 1? Same sort of thing.
Season 1.
Season 1. And I'm here with Dan B. If you know Dan B, subscribe. Yeah. You know, you're a big fan of Doctor Who like I am. And,
yes.
You know, I want to sit down and just talk to someone who knows Doctor Who on a similar level to how I know it. Because, you know, it's a very niche thing with people our age, is that, you know, Doctor Who's not massive. You know, it's not football. It's not all this. It's literally just a thing that's very niche to certain people. And I love it and you love it. So I feel like let's sit down, have a nice conversation and chat. So should we just begin? Should we just begin with the Church on Ruby Road? Literally the first episode. Yeah. What did you think? What did you think? Highlights, low points, all of it?
Like pretty much. I thought it was like an alright episode. Like I wouldn't say it was like the best of the season, but I wouldn't like rate it as I'd rate it probably on the lower side of the season, but not like it wasn't like a bad episode.
No, definitely. I don't think there were any bad episodes in this series really, just sort of ones that didn't shine as much as other ones. Yeah. So, you know, I think it was a great introduction to Ruby and, you know, Ruby's mum and the Sundays in general, you know, getting to know everybody, getting to know her origin, I think was amazing.
Yeah, I think they did that in like a really good way as well. Like, just the flow of the episode was quite good, and I remember sitting down and watching it and like being just basically watching it, and it didn't feel like it dragged or anything. It just felt like it went very, very quickly, which is quite good.
That's a key point, especially for Christmas specials, because they tend to be a little bit over the normal runtime for Doctor Who. And, you know, for it to be a completely fresh start, I think as far as introduction episodes go for new characters, I think it was a very strong start. I think,
100%.
Definitely along that. One thing that you actually mentioned to me at one point that stuck with me as well, the goblins actually were a bit naff. They didn't really, you know, I'll let you explain in general because it's your point.
No, like, personally, I didn't think that the goblins had like that much of a threat to them. Like they were just there, and then because they were gonna eat babies, but essentially didn't actually eat any on
They literally ate no babies.
That's the point.
And if they eat babies and they were all freaking out over the big feast, there's just one baby. How is that going around everyone?
On a conveyor belt, like Tesco's, just like.
Yeah. Now I've only actually watched the Church on Ruby Road once. What happened to Lulabelle? You know Lulabelle the baby. What actually happened to her? Was she still in the series? I didn't see her at all.
I genuinely never seen her in the series.
Yeah, like I swear that was the whole point, is that she was like the new baby of the Sunday family, but she's never seen again. So and the Goblin King's song was amazing as well. I love that.
I thought that was actually quite good.
It was good.
It was good as well because I remember looking and it was like charting at like number 1 or something.
It was high in the charts towards Christmas time. If it had got Christmas number 1, I'd have been a happy boy, but it didn't. So, you know, a little bit sad.
Close, I think.
It was in top 5, I think, definitely in top 5.
Insane.
So speaking of Lulabelle and babies, we move on to the actual opener of the series, the proper one. Space Babies. Now, we are very split on this episode. Go ahead. What do you think?
Personally, I didn't think it was a bad episode, but I wouldn't rate it like the highest in the series once again. I thought it was good to like. I like how they just sort of got through all of like the, you know, setting up the whole like premise of Doctor Who. They got through that quite quickly. Time travel, all that kind of stuff. They got through that basically quite quickly. I think that was quite good because sometimes they can like drag it out through the whole.
100%. It was very introduction. Like, I'm the Doctor. This is Ruby. We're here to save the day. Evil monster. We get rid of it, but we don't kill it. This is what Doctor Who is what I felt.
I'm killing butterflies.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, the Doctor giving his magical powers of regeneration to a butterfly.
Just breathed on the butterfly.
Literally, bro just breathed his hot breath on a butterfly and then it started flying away. So no, it was good.
I thought for that part, like one little thing I would say is I thought like they could have added some like CGI like regeneration energy or something, because
it's just a bit.
Personally, I thought that he was using like his regeneration energy like he has done in the past to like revive the butterfly, but it was just kind of like you just kind of
just breathed on it. Yeah, like there was no post regeneration. It wasn't like, let me breathe my energy from my regeneration onto you. It was literally, here's my hot breath. I give you air from my lungs.
I bring back the classic line.
No, literally. But I think it felt very 2005 for me. Series 1, like that episode, it felt very like that. And obviously the opener was literally a complete rip off of The End of the World, or what was it called?
It drew a lot of parallels to The End of the World and Rose, like quite a lot.
Yeah.
Like with her going around the TARDIS and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that was quite a thing.
It felt great to me. And as much as it's silly, the whole scene where the bogeyman was dying and the Doctor was like last of his kind, as much as it is a literal bogey, right, it did make me feel like, oh, this is what Doctor Who is, this is what the Doctor's about. He's about saving things, and he saved it, and I feel like that really gave me a nostalgic feel towards it.
Little moment.
Yeah, of course. And
I would say as well, like speaking about like the space babies, I would say like the CGI did look a little bit weird.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
the mouth and stuff.
And like the baby's facial expressions didn't match what they were saying at all.
Like the rest of it was like really, really good. Like all the space stuff, the space station stuff. It was like the best we've ever seen.
Well, even the bogeyman looked sick as well.
The bogeyman was good as well.
Yeah,
I thought that was like practically done.
Oh no, yeah, it was practical. Yeah, I remember I watched Unleash the day after, and I was expecting to see like a green screen man, but it was actually practical. Same with later in the series. What was practical later on? Oh, I can't remember.
Stuff for the slugs in
yeah. Oh, and sorry, I was thinking of the Meep from the 60s specials. The Meep was all practical. I thought the Meep was like CGI, but no, the Meep was just all practical. But
they did use some CGI, I think, but they like mixed.
Yeah, the eyes and stuff. Yeah. But I liked the story of it. I liked, the preaching. This is Doctor Who. This is what we're about for all the new viewers. And Nanny, I love Nanny as well. Big up Nanny.
Nanny kind of just gives me a little throwback to like the Jodie era with Benny. Like,
no, I've seen. I'm a fake fan, guys. I still haven't watched the Jodie era, but I did watch. I know all the plots because I've watched. It was a 3-hour like documentary of like the whole of the Chibnall era, so I just watched that instead.
I hope you've seen the Benny memes because they're.
I have. Is that Benny?
It's like, where's my Benny?
I've seen that.
Says it like so many times through the episode.
Funny stuff, man. It's funny stuff. But and this was the first time we'd seen Susan Twist outside of.
Yes.
Obviously, she was Mrs. Merridew, but this is our first time seeing Susan Twist as a recurring character, which was great.
Yeah.
Which was amazing, and we got to see her throughout the whole series, and I think it was great. But moving on to The Devil's Chord, which actually released on the same night as Space Babies. Did you watch them both at midnight release?
Yeah, I binged both of them at midnight.
Yeah, I was too tired.
I was up until I think it's like 3 or 4 in the morning binging Doctor Who.
I watched it as soon as I woke up, because the only one I watched at midnight was Empire of Death, and that was because I was just so excited to watch it. But we'll get onto that. Devil's Chord. I think the villain. I think Maestro as a villain was great, and I think Jinx Monsoon added to that in an amazing way.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I
definitely agree on that. Like Maestro as a villain, I was kind of like, I was a bit like, personally, I was thinking like, are they just gonna kind of use this character as just a bit of like just to use like a drag queen in the episode?
Yeah.
And I thought like that could, if they didn't write it well, that could have like been a bit of something that, like a lot of people could have like attacked and stuff. But I genuinely thought Maestro was a really good character that was like kind of scary at the same time.
Yeah. Like in the Star Beast when David Tennant, or when Rose said to the 14th Doctor, "Oh, do you know the Meep's pronouns and all this," and everyone was kicking off.
Yeah.
Like you say, if they'd have written it in a wrong way, people would be like, well, you've just done this to add a drag queen in because Doctor Who's woke now, you know what I mean? Even though it's woke anyway.
Like, personally, like, with that scene, I think it was a little bit too on nose, that scene.
I think it was,
but, but how they added Jinx Monsoon into this was just a lot better written, in my opinion.
100%. And yeah, like I feel like the Beatles were bigged up to be more than they were in this episode. We saw them like twice.
Yeah. I think they got like I didn't think they got enough screen time for like a big Beatles episode. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And I've got a dog, he's called Fred.
That song has become so viral.
I love it.
Like, I've seen like reels on Instagram of people like, you know that meme where like they go like somebody's walking past and listening to music. And,
oh yeah.
Oh, what track you're listening to? And it's like that song. I'm like, what?
I love my dog. He loves me too. I love it. And it's the silliness. It captured the silliness of Doctor Who. I loved it.
It's great.
Yeah, and also, yeah, go on.
Can't talk about this episode without talking about shooting outwards a pink sonic screwdriver, which I originally thought was red.
I thought it was red as well.
But obviously it must just be the colour grading and stuff. But it was like a pink sonic screwdriver, and this is something that kind of comes up in episodes, because in a later episode we get like a yellow sonic screwdriver too. And they're using like
multicolours, yeah. I really like that though.
BBC, take my money right now.
Yeah, so you buy prop replicas, you're going to spend like $3,000 on all the different prop replicas with all the different lights on them.
Probably more.
Oh god.
Right, I've just destroyed the fucking...
Wait, what'd you do?
I knocked like a load of shit off my desk.
Oh no.
Which I had for something else.
Oh,
yeah.
broski. But yeah, no, the giggle was mentioned in this episode as well, with the laugh of Maestro coming out of the piano after Ruby's solo, which Ruby's solo was great as well.
I love that too, because again, like we didn't really hear like I didn't. This is definitely when I saw that like theme, and I was like, that's Ruby's theme, and I actually liked it. Like
Murray Gold, man, Murray Gold, take all the money in the world. BBC should be paying Murray Gold so much, because Doctor Who would be like half the story it is without Murray Gold's amazing soundtracks behind
Maybe
it.
That's where half the budget went.
Oh yeah, hopefully. I'd rather it go to him than anywhere else in the BBC.
Murray Gold, Russell T Davies, and Stephen Moffat.
Yeah. Oh man, but I feel like as well a great thing about the episode was the first hint to Sutek, if I'm aware.
Yeah, that
with the sending. Nice well. With Ruby being like, well, the world didn't end in 73 or something like that, because I was born in 2004 and I'm stood right here. And the Doctor goes, well, let's go to 2024 and see what it's like if Maestro keeps going. And that's exactly how Sarah Jane and Tom Baker did it in the Pyramids of Mars.
Oh, yeah. That's actually pretty cool. I didn't notice that as well. That's pretty cool.
I think there was a hint before that in the Giggle, where Rose, they're all sat, and they're sat in the garden at the end.
Yeah.
Rose says to the Doctor, Donna says to the Doctor, stop going out in your TARDIS and taking my daughter to Mars. And that was an early hint to Sutek.
Yeah, that's quite good.
Yeah. But in terms of this, I think, and obviously Jinx when she dies, well, I should say Maestro when they die technically, isn't it? When Maestro dies in the gig, what's it called? The Devil's Chord. When Maestro dies in the Devil's Chord, they go, the one who waits is almost here. And it's like, more added to this. I have a question. Oh, no, go on. I have a question.
No, I was going to say, I also like as well how in this episode, as well, something that a lot of people would, start hating on as well is the fact that they used they in this episode. Yeah,
they did. People did.
But I think it actually makes sense in terms of the writing as well, because Maestro is like a god of music.
That's it, yeah.
So technically Maestro isn't a physical thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like an entity than like a gendered thing, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
Which I think was a good way to tie into the episode.
Yeah, 100%. I had a question, I've forgotten it now.
Shit.
Wait, let me read my notes to see if I can remember. The Giggle, bloody... What was I saying before? I was saying something, I was rambling. I don't remember, let's move on. No, the one who waits, right. So you know the Meep, the Meep, right?
Yes.
Do you know at the end of the Starbeast when the Meep says, wait till you meet the boss?
Yeah,
and boss. Rogue says later on, I got a new boss.
Yeah.
Is that Sutek? It's not, is it?
I don't I think if it was like I think if it was like established that Sutek was the boss, it would have been established in the last episode.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like it wasn't hinted at all.
So I like that though. I like we've still got questions. The thing I love about Doctor Who is having questions and having to wait till next Saturday to find out something else about the next thing.
Because like the one who waits was obviously Sutek.
Yeah. So I don't think Sutek was the boss. Yeah. Could it be Mrs. Flood? Could be Mrs. Flood.
I have theories on who Mrs. Flood could be, but I'm saving that.
Okay, we'll save that for the end. Your own video. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, I think that wraps it for the Devil's Chord. I think I've gone over everything I want to say. So we'll move on to Boom, which was my favourite episode as soon as it came out. What did you think of it?
Genuinely, I saw this episode and I was just like, this is Doctor Who. That was my exact thoughts. I watched it and I was like, this is Doctor Who.
100%.
It's back. Like, this is the proper moment that it was like, Doctor Who's back. 100%.
I loved this episode so much. Like, the return of Stephen Moffat was amazing anyway. You know, his amazing quotes. You know, he's always been a good one for speech writing and quotes. You know, like snow isn't snow until it falls, and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's always been good with like quotes, and that's why like Moffat's he's always one of my favourite writers of Doctor Who. And growing up, like my first full Doctor Who series was Series 5, the first like Matt Smith era. I watched some stuff before then, but like my first proper series that I binged was Series 5. So that Moffat's got like a little place in my heart.
Yeah, Series 2 for me, I was quite early on. I was very young when Series 2 came out, but I remember watching it, and when Rose got sent to the parallel world, I was honestly, it was the first time I'd ever the first time Little Me, I was generally like in tears. I was like, oh, she's gone. So, you know, Russell T Davies has always got, like you say, with Moffat in your heart, like Russell T Davies has always got a place for me. Like, this is what I felt like when I watched New Earth. That was the first episode of Doctor Who I'd ever watched, and I saw New Earth, and I was like, talking cats, a big talking brain who's dying, and you know, this infection thing. I quite like this, and then I stuck with it, and it was great. So yeah. But returning back to Boom, we got introduced to Mundy Flynn, who is actually played by Varida someone, who's the new companion in season 2.
Yeah, I've seen her before because obviously like I watch Star Wars and stuff as well.
Yeah,
and she played a character in a series called Andor, which got a lot of praise in the Star Wars community. So like I already knew that she was like good coming into this episode, if that makes sense. So I was quite excited, like when I saw her pop up on screen.
Yeah, definitely. And so I'd never seen her before, and I didn't even know she was the new companion until afterwards when it was all over social media.
Yeah,
like this, because she's not, is she? The actor is, but the character Mundy isn't. So it's confusing.
I'm not
I don't know how.
Sure if that's like.
I'm just annoyed. I'm annoyed we got to wait a whole year to find out what happens. It's mad.
One episode at Christmas, and then we've got to wait another 6 months.
Yeah, so we got to wait now about 6 months, and then we got to wait from Christmas another 6 months. Yeah, so we've got like an in between episode. So that's exciting. Well, yeah, one episode in between. I'm gonna miss the New Year's Day, the New Year's Eve, New Year's Day 2-parters as well. From David Tennant, End of Time, and all that. So, but something about this episode as well is obviously introducing. We still don't know too much about Ruby. So when Ruby got shot, I was like, this could be the end, because Doctor Who is so weird. If you see someone get shot in EastEnders, you know, right, well, they're dead, they're gone. Whereas in Doctor Who, if she gets shot, we know she's in the rest of the series. She could die there, and the Doctor could go back and see her before, and then take her instead, and there could be a whole plot thing. Because I saw her die, and the whole next of kin thing was proper freaky. It reminded me of like the next of kin. It reminded me of Silence in the Library.
Yeah.
And Forest of the Dead and stuff like that, where it was just, Donna Noble has left the library. That.
Oh yeah, what was that one?
The ambulance.
Line, like the ambulance said, it was
Ruby Sunday, calendar year, calendar age, 3,940, something like that. That was again Susan Twist playing an amazing job.
And then, like, even like the beginning part, I liked how it was like almost established as an episode, and then like we get kind of like just thrown into it, and then the Doctor's kind of in it, and then he just like runs over and then steps on this landmine, and then like, there was tension to this episode. And they did well considering it was all shot in like basically 2 sets.
Literally,
they built like 2 sets for this like episode, which obviously saved them money in the long run on like this specific episode. But it didn't feel like a money saver episode. It felt like
definitely
just as good as, if not better than, some of the other episodes.
100%. And from the cold open, I didn't think I'd like the episode. I thought this is going to be one that I'm not a big fan of, because Stephen Moffat, as much as he's a good writer, I didn't like Series 6. Series 5 was a bit naff, and Series 7 weren't. But in fact, I like the whole Capaldi era, but I didn't really like the Matt Smith era as much as everyone else does.
Yeah, I'm kind of weird in that sense. Like I liked all of the Matt Smith era personally, and then like where I started falling off was like Series 10 of the Capaldi era.
Really, because I think Series 10 is not my favourite, but I think it's the best series of Doctor Who ever. In terms of episodes, I
haven't rewatched it that much.
So. Yeah, I rewatched it a few weeks ago. So give Series 10 a rewatch, and when you realise that 12 is obviously getting over Clara, and he sees Bill as Susan, you know, there's he sees, you know, a lot of Susan in Bill, and
I mean, I love the Capaldi era. Like Heaven Sent, it was probably one of my favourite episodes.
So strong,
of all time.
So strong, yeah. So
I remember I watched that episode going back with my girlfriend, going back like a few months ago.
Yeah.
And because she hasn't watched like Doctor Who before, so I'm just kind of like getting her up to speed on the series. But basically we watched that and she didn't like think it was that amazing, but I said like, this is like so good.
No, this is like peak Doctor. That's what I mean. Yeah. When I first watched it in 2017, I think was it? No, it was after. No, it was before that. 2016. 17, one of the two. I remember when I first watched that, I was like year 8, and I was like, oh, it's a bit naff. Like, what is this? This don't feel like David Tennant's era. I'm watching it back now. It's like cinematic masterpiece.
It's just like the music and like
amazing.
I think it's called the soundtrack itself is called like the Shepherd's Boy or something.
Yeah, like it's Shepherd's Little Shepherds, something like that. Yeah. And it's
just such a great track to have over this like really well cut together like almost montage of a sort, showing time passing and passing and passing.
Yeah, the Shepherd's Boy, it plays when Capaldi regenerates as well, and it sort of just just hits you. Why are we talking about Peter Capaldi? Back to Boom. Back to Boom. I don't remember. Oh yeah, so I think I'm quite ADHD. So I need like, you know when you scroll on TikTok and you see like Subway Surfers and then it's like My Strange Addiction above it and you got to have both. I'm a bit like that. So having the episode shot in one section and me not getting bored is a big, thing. And it was a very insane episode that kept you on your edge of your seat the whole time. I was literally sat here like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Yeah, but no, it's very good and I loved it. Moving on. Would you have anything else to say, or do you want us to move on?
No, I think I'm good for that.
Moving on. 73 yards. I loved it. Everyone hated it, but I loved it.
I can't quite like it. I understand, but personally, I think this episode could have been 2 episodes.
I think that as well. Yeah.
Like I think they should have split it into a political episode and a like supernatural horror.
Yeah,
sort of episode.
I agree.
Because I there's like the first half I really enjoyed. Yeah. But it's like when we get to the second half, I'm like, it's a bit like.
It's when Ruby starts growing in age. I'm like, from that point onwards, I was like, this first half was amazing.
I'm sorry, but like, I mean, I don't make all like prosthetics and stuff in and all that makeup. It didn't look like she aged very much.
How old was she when she filmed it? Was she 18 when she filmed that? I think.
She's like 18, and then there's like one scene where she's like supposed to be 40.
40, but she looks 18 with just glasses on.
She looks like 20. Like.
Nice, honestly, but yeah, no, I loved the episode, and I really thought, because going into this, we didn't know. I say we as if I'm some really good, Intel core person, but just reading off leaks and stuff. Dot and Bubble, we didn't really know what we were in store for. So for 73 yards, as soon as I saw I was at the 41-minute mark, and nothing had been answered, I was like, okay,
Yeah,
it's a two-parter. Next week, because we know nothing about Dot and Bubble, and we don't know anything, nothing's getting concluded in this episode, it must be a two-parter. And then it wasn't, and I was like, well, I've still got so many questions. But when you realise that's the point is you're meant to be confused, you're meant to not know, and it's meant to be uneasy, like the fact there was no title sequence. That's the point. It's meant to make you feel uneasy because it's meant to be horror-esque. Yeah. And that's what I like. So what did you think about that?
Yeah, like I think a lot of people don't really get that about Doctor Who. Doctor Who is such a very like the show just goes every direction. They can do anything in the show.
It's very variety. Yeah.
People try to like basically pin the show down and make it like put it in a box basically.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work.
It doesn't.
Like sometimes like what you said with this episode, not knowing and being confused. And like having to rewatch it before you understood the episode.
That's it.
Is kind of part of the episode.
That's it. That's what makes it good, and that's what people who don't like this series, I feel like don't understand that, and they take it just for what they're given, rather than actually thinking, okay, let's see this as an experience rather than just a storytelling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The whole point of that episode is to make you feel like you're on like a roller coaster rather than I'm watching a TV show. But yeah, that's what I gathered.
No, but like I've kind of watched like with this series, I've watched both sides of the spectrum because I really wanted to like get a really good view on this series and what everybody thinks, not just kind of like what one side sort of thinks. So I've been watching some videos where like some people have like poked like plot holes and stuff in, but like some of them work, but some of them like don't work. Yeah. It's very like
I feel like on that one. No, I'm very with you, but I feel like the first bit we were talking about where Ruby's actually just abandoned in Wales. Obviously, Susan Twist was great as well. Yeah. The pub, I really like the pub scene. Where can I pay with my phone? What do you mean pay with your phone? Of course you can. Stuff like that, and when they
that's supposed to be on that's kind of like a joke to how like Welsh people are so behind, and it is so true. Like you go like obviously I live in like Wales, so but if you go to like mid Wales,
definitely,
genuinely, it's like going back like. So many.
It's just hills and little cottages, and you think, well, these people are living in 1940, but they're not. They're living in 2024 like everyone else.
It's crazy. So I did like that. I like them little like jokes and things.
Yeah, 100%. And there was obviously a big second. I don't want to say second plot, but like obviously Roger Ap Gwilliam was the main. I wouldn't say villain. I mean, he was technically the villain. He was planning to blow up the universe, blow up the world, and obviously I've forgotten her name. Do you remember her name? The girl who he assaulted. I don't remember her name.
No, I don't. I don't remember.
I've forgotten her name. But anyway, there was a girl who worked for him, and he went up to her, and she was like, "Oh, he's talking to me, and then it cuts to when he wins the election, and she's all sad because. And then she says that he's a monster, which is obviously leading to that he's done some dodgy things to her, which was a dark point. That was dark for Doctor Who, but I like that.
I didn't like the only thing that I would say with the whole Roger William thing is like his whole thing was like, I'm evil because I want to blow up the world, and he never explained why.
That is it.
Like there wasn't like a motive. He was just like, I want to launch nuclear missiles.
Yeah, and
for no reason.
You know, in The Empire of Death, when the Doctor goes, "Oh, Roger Ap Gwilliam, he introduced DNA testing to be compulsory." Did he? I don't remember that in 73 Yards at all. I rewatched 73 Yards after that. He never mentioned that once. He was talking about blowing up the world. So
that his whole thing was just getting like nuclear access and blowing the world up.
Yeah, there was no DNA testing being compulsory. So I don't know, maybe a little plot hole. Maybe because it was technically an alternate universe, wasn't it? Really, like that didn't actually happen because Ruby stopped it and then went back in time to stop the Doctor standing on the trap.
I think there is more to that episode though.
There must be.
There's got to be like I don't think it's fully been like explained like as much as it should be. That
It's
makes
like,
sense.
and people were saying it reminded them of Midnight with the fact we don't know what the Midnight entity is. We don't know.
Oh yeah.
We don't know.
That's a good comparison.
Yeah, and I loved Midnight as an episode, and I loved 73 Yards. I think it was a very, very strong episode, and I loved it for that.
Yeah.
So yeah. But let's move on to the most annoying girl I've ever seen in my entire life, Lindy Pepperbean. She winds me up.
Anybody with the second name of Pepperbean is probably the most annoying person.
Oh, she's so jarring. She's so annoying. But Dot and Bubble, of course. And what did you think? What was your views on Dot and Bubble?
I was a bit mixed on this episode.
I was as well. Yeah.
Again, it was in similar ways to 73 Yards. Like this episode, it was all right, and I was getting through it, and I was like, it's an alright episode, but the only part of me that like fully brings it up to be like somewhat decent of an episode is like the Doctor's like speech kind of thing
That is
at
it.
the end.
That is it. The actual episode is so naff. You know what I mean?
And I wouldn't say that that's his best like Doctor moment of the series as well.
Yeah.
I think Empire of Death kind of takes it for me.
It does a little bit. It's new though, because the Doctor's never had to deal with racism on a first point, like a first person POV before. Obviously there was Martha, there was Bill, who had racist comments, and he was very angry towards the people who did them. But now the Doctor is actually black. You know, he's having to deal with racism in a first person POV that he's never had to deal with before, and that is shown so well in his anger.
One thing that I would say, like, this is one of them episodes, and it is kind of the same for like a couple of the episodes of this season and the 60th specials. But I watched the episode and I enjoyed it more, and then I watched Unleashed, and it kind of ruined it for me. Because Russell said in this episode of Unleashed that we were supposed to clock on from the very beginning, but everybody's like racist in this episode.
Yeah,
but like
you don't realise that until afterwards.
Like, basically, I clocked that on quite late on, and then he said, well, if you kind of like clocked it on very late on, that kind of makes you should ask yourself why. And
it's a fair point though. It is a fair point.
The whole point of the episode is to make it as subtle as possible, though.
Yeah, I think it was subtle.
It was, like,
the Doctor being swiped off, but Ruby not being swiped off. Looking back, you realise, but at the end of the episode, I didn't even know she was racist until my rewatch. I thought she was just saying, "You're not from Fine Time. We can't travel with you."
That's personally what I thought.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well.
But I thought it was more of like you're not of like our species, as in like species of Fine Time.
Yeah.
And so that we can't travel with you. It's more of like a species race thing, because they were kind of being a bit like rude to Ruby as well. And that's
exactly. And
that's kind of,
it makes you think. It shows off like posh kids being these like stuck up people, which can very much be. Yeah, it is true. It is true. And obviously that she gave the Doctor glares like that every night, and looking back on the rewatch, okay, I understand now, but I didn't understand that first time round, which I think makes it better. But Russell saying you're meant to, makes you think, well, are we?
Like, on the first time, like, it's a bit like, I think on the second time, yes, like, I think you notice a lot more the more you watch it, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, no, I definitely do. And I mean, it had some great songs in it. Itsy bitsy teeny weeny.
Oh my god, that song was stuck in my head for so long.
And me.
Like, I'm not even kidding. I was just like sat there and I was like, it's stuck in my head.
It was brilliant. I enjoyed every second. Yeah, well, go on. What are you saying?
Yeah, the CGI in this episode was mad too. Just like the screen and stuff, and just how complex it was. And like, obviously, with us two being like editors, we know how complex that kind of thing would be to make. Like,
mad.
Like,
mad.
You gotta appreciate, and like, hats off to like the VFX team who put that together.
One thing I didn't like was at the beginning of the episode, after the title sequence, it shows Fine Time from a sky view and how amazing Fine Time looks. But then when Lindy's on the street walking around, it just looks like your average boring city.
It does. It looks a little bit futuristic, but I think they could have added like a few more things to it. It does look a little bit ordinary, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah,
Earth ordinary.
just a little bit, but
Also, I wasn't too sure about because they had like one person die and they got dragged away, and they had like green blood.
yeah, it's really
I
weird.
don't know whether that's because they didn't want to show like red blood on
maybe. On
on
BBC.
BBC and that's getting around it, or whether it's because they're like technically aliens.
Yeah, it was really odd, but
I thought that kind of explained a little bit, or like at least hinted at again. But it just kind of
are the people of Fine Time, are they human or are they other species?
I assume that they're another species because like, but they just look human.
Because I thought going into it, okay, they're human, but this is in the year like 3040, and they've got this bubble around them. But now, as it goes on, I don't think they are. I think they are a different species. And again, Murray Gold with this episode, when the Doctor at the end, do you hear the little hint of the long song in there as well?
Oh, he did so many. I love that about Murray Gold in this series.
Yes.
He did so many little hints to other things. Like, I don't know if you caught it, but like back in the Star Beast, you got like hints of like the "I Am the Doctor" song from the 11th Doctor, and just like stuff like that. I just think it was just like so good.
He did that in this series as well. I think it was when he was defeating Sutek, when the 15 was defeating Sutek by putting him on the leash. I think somehow the Doctor played there, and there was a hint of Doomsday as well when Ruby when Ruby died in Boom. If you listen back, Ruby, when she was falling down the thing, there was a little hint of the, you know, in the
that is amazing.
There's a little hint of that. There's a little hint of that in if you watch back.
See, that's something that I like. I think I've rewatched like the episodes once at most. So I definitely need to go and rewatch the series as a whole.
And me, I'll do that at some point.
But
definitely, no. Murray Gold, amazing. Ricky September was amazing.
Oh yeah. Justice for Ricky September.
Justice for Ricky September. We love Ricky. He died a hero. And I'd like to think if, you know, when 10 regenerates and he goes back and visits all the people.
Oh yeah.
I'd love if 15, when he's about to regenerate, goes back and visits Ricky September and just saves him. It won't happen, but if it did, Russell.
Yes.
Russell, please save Ricky. Save Ricky September.
So he just goes and he just saves him. Saves him and kills Lindsay Pepperbean.
God, Miss Pepperbean. Another thing that Russell said in the Unleashed, I think it was Unleashed, I might have said it on social media, was that the slugs were actually the good guys, eating up all the racists.
That's something that I wasn't like. I saw them as like villains because they were
they were killing people.
Like, it's strange because you've got to it's kind of like where your morals are at. Like if you think it's okay to kill people because they're like they're a bit fucked in the head, which in my eyes they are kind of villains as well. It makes them but then again, like they felt a bit like they were kind of put there to almost be like pest control, but on like a planetary level. Yeah, that makes sense.
I can see that. But no, fair play to Don Bubble. It wasn't a terrible episode. It was probably plot-wise, if it didn't have that amazing scene at the end and it didn't have the whole racist throughout thing, I think it was probably the weakest of the series.
I would have, 100%.
I think it might be down there anyway for me.
It's pretty down there, but it would have been further down there for me if that whole scene wasn't in there.
I agree. But moving on from the lowest episode to my personal favourite of the whole series, Rogue.
It's up there. It's up there for me as well.
It's my favourite.
When it was released, it was my favourite episode. So
you liked the two-parter then, didn't you?
Yeah.
And The Legend of Ruby Sunday, I know we're skipping past Rogue a second, but I just want to say this. I think The Legend of Ruby Sunday was better than The Empire of Death. Empire of Death.
Okay, right. That'll be an interesting bit for later in this video.
But no, I think The Legend of Ruby. What were we talking about? Rogue. I think Rogue, as an episode, is great.
I genuinely think it was a good episode as well, and I mean, Another thing as well, which I would kind of like a thing that I would like to point out as well in this episode, like I did say a little bit ago about the Sonics and like how we had a pink Sonic. Like part of me thinks that that's almost like a, you know how back in like Russell's first season, the color of the time vortex was to display whether they went forwards or backwards in time.
The red and
red
blue.
was backwards.
Red was
and blue was forwards.
Yeah, blue was forwards, red was backwards. Yeah.
Some part of me thinks like, what if that's similar with these Sonics? So, because you know, Rogue and the Devil's Chord are episodes set in the past. Blue could be future, and yellow could be present.
You do raise a fair point. What was Space Babies? Was it using Space Babies?
Yeah, Space Baby was a blue, which is technically set in the future.
Space Babies is Space Babies in the future.
Boom was set in the future, I believe.
You do. Yeah, you do. You raise a good point there. Oh, something about Boom we didn't say.
Yeah.
Is it Manglican? Though that Anglican, something like that. Those people from the time of the Angels and Flesh and Stone.
Oh yeah, that's
sorry, we're going, but this is jolty as. But yeah, no, yeah. See a little mention. I forgot to mention that. But yeah, anyway, back to Rogue. What you saying? No, yeah, the Sonics, yeah.
Yeah, no.
I think it's a good point.
Again,
yeah.
But definitely. I'd say it's a very, very solid episode, and I think
100.
Again they highlighted. Part of me, like I got partway through the episode, and I legit thought that the character Rogue was like Captain Jack.
Everyone thought that. I thought that.
A little playback on the fact that BBC couldn't get back John Barrowman. Like.
Yeah, I really liked it though. There was a whole thing about him, wasn't there?
Him and Noel Clark, I think.
Noel. Thing is with John Barrowman is he's always been a bit, and the things that came out about John Barrowman from when he used to do them in 2005, 2006 were more acceptable as a joke, especially from someone who's gay.
Then,
not as me saying that. That's just what it is.
Like personally, I think like people would look over that kind of thing a lot more back then. But with how like the world's kind of going at the moment, like people are a bit more like sensitive and touchy about them kind of things. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean the Noel Clark thing was completely fair. Like he did some horrible.
That's a whole different thing.
But I separate Noel Clark and Mickey as different because I love Mickey as a character, whereas obviously Noel Clark's not a very nice man. So
great character, but our actor's a bit
dodgy.
Yeah. Bit.
But no, in Rhodes, I loved the story. My mum was a big fan of big fan of Bridgerton, so when she watched it, she said she liked that. I loved Ruby's play in this episode. This was very Ruby independent. I am like you now, Doctor. Look at me, shine. I'm doing good.
I did like that it separated them quite a bit. Like
they weren't together, no. But I didn't mind that. It showed Ruby's independence. The villain, the shoulders, the shoulders reminded me of the Family of Blood. You know.
Yeah, that's definitely
Mother of Mine.
A fair point there.
Yeah, and the sacrifice at the end when Rogue sacrifices. Oh, Kylie Minogue as well. Great. But the sacrifice at the end when Rogue sacrifices himself so that Ruby can live. And says, "Find me." I hope this isn't the end of Rogue. I hope the Doctor finds Rogue.
I'm probably gonna say like I reckon he's probably gonna come back.
I hope so.
Because like they left it open.
Yeah.
So he's got to come back at some point. Maybe even if not in season 2, maybe season 3, because that was confirmed now. Technically, we have season 3, which is semi-confirmed.
We do, yeah, because Shooty's not regenerated in series 2, which means there should be a season 3.
Yes.
Unless he goes in a Christmas special and then they go right axed, you know. But
unless they just kill him.
Yeah. Unless that's it. Imagine that. Imagine like at the end of this, Russell's like no one is being showrunner ever again because Shooty's gonna die during his regeneration and that's it. Show's done forever.
He just gets shot and then the song "There's Always a Twist" plays.
Yeah, that's it. Is it she? Oh, goodbye. Dead again. There's always a twist. That'd be mad. No, it would be mad. But no, I like Rogue, and I hope Rogue does make a comeback in the future.
Yeah.
And yeah, also plot hole with this. Kylie Minogue, the Doctor loves Kylie Minogue's songs. However, Kylie Minogue was in Voyage of the Damned.
Yeah, that's kind of a nice little nod. I'm not amazing with like music, so I didn't know that the artist was Kylie Minogue. It's weird.
Really?
Because I knew the song,
Yeah.
but I didn't put the name to the song.
Oh no, yeah, no, Kylie Minogue.
I'm so bad with like music.
I'm not a big fan. I work on radio and I hate music, so
I thought you'd be like you'd know like names better because
I know
like,
names. Yeah, I do know
like,
names, but I'm not a big fan of just listening to music, if I'm honest. But
it's
sticky one. But
Murray Gold though, so
yeah, Murray Gold. I put his albums on repeat.
I do revisit the albums every so
I actually do as well. I do that. But right, I think that's wrapped it up for Rogue. So let's go on to the big finale. We'll start with the Legend of Ruby Sunday. Take it away.
I've got to say, like when I watched this, the end of the episode literally left me like speechless. I came out of the episode, and you know when you watch a piece of media or a piece of content, and you literally the episode finishes, you get like that silence because it was like 1 a.m. in the morning, and you get the silence, and you're just like you just think, holy shit, that was such a good episode.
100%.
The one thing I want to say about this episode too is, I think I said this to you in messages, but part ones for me have always been a bit of a bad thing. Like End of Time Part 1, a bit of a stinker.
Really enough. Really bad.
The Part 1 to Journey's End was also a bit slow. I didn't find that too interesting. But this Part 1, I genuinely thought like there wasn't a second wasted. Like
100%.
It was just like bang, 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 straight for the episode, and I was on the edge of my seat the whole episode. Like fully.
I was convinced it was the Trickster because I watched it at 4 p.m. on Saturday, and I was on a content trip at the time. So, and nobody else likes Doctor Who, so I was like, right, well, I'm gonna have to watch this because when we're on content trips, we have a lot of naps because we're just constantly filming, right? So we were all tired. It was about 4 p.m. They all went for a nap, and I was like, I've got to watch this now. This is my only chance. So I watched it, and oh my god, right? Because Sutek was not rumoured until I believe the Thursday before, when there was a leaked screenshot of Susan Twist with the horns and stuff, and everyone was like, oh my god, this looks like Sutek, right? And I was like, well, the chance of it being Sutek is small. And then the actual trailer for the episode came out, and we found out that it was just one of Susan Twist's characters, and everyone was like, oh, it's not Sutek then. So I was like, okay, Sutek's gone from the head. It's got to be the Trickster. And then it was Sutek, and I was like, oh my god, this is mad.
I thought it was the Trickster up until the point where they said the Trickster. Games or whatever it was.
God of Traps. Traps, I think
Traps,
it was.
yes, that's one.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh my god, it's going to be Sutek. And then it came up, and I was like, and considering I still haven't watched The Pyramids of Mars.
Really? Oh no, that's the first thing I did.
I was hyped.
Yeah.
I was hyped for Sutek, and I haven't watched much of Classic Who.
No, I watched all of the Third Doctors and all of the Fourth Doctor and most of the Seventh Doctor. But besides that, I've not seen anything else either, really.
Part of me thought Omega.
I thought Omega. I did think Omega, yeah.
Because I thought, the Trickster, okay, it's not the Trickster. It's either Omega or Sutek. So,
yeah, Omega, or there was somebody else who I thought it could have been as well. Oh, the Meddling Monk. I thought it could have been the Meddling Monk.
Yeah, a little bit of rumour around the Meddling Monk, but I think personally the top three would have been Omega, Sutek, and Trickster. Yeah.
I thought the Meddling Monk also could have been Ruby's mum because of the outfit.
Yeah, because of the outfit, which I think.
Yeah, and Trickster as well. Obviously, that's Trickster's outfit as well.
Interesting choice, but I'll get to that when we.
I also thought Ruby could have been her own mum. That was my theory since Church on Ruby Road at Christmas. I was like, I bet you any money, she's her own mum. And
the hood
I'm convinced as well. I'm convinced she played her mum in that episode, because I went back and watched it, because I watched it with my mum, and my mum was, and I said to my mum afterwards, I was like, I think she's her own mum, and my mum was like, oh, is it because the legs look the same? And I was like, well, no. But then I went back and watched it, and they have the same like body. If you actually look at it, I'm convinced it was actually Millie Gibson playing it. I haven't watched Unleashed, so I don't know if it was her or if it was a different character. But even if they say it's not, I'm convinced anyway. Like, bruv, they look the exact same. Like
people were saying that it could be the Doctor as well.
Yeah.
But I think the white legs give it away.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I thought... Well, there was a rumour that it was Jodie, actually.
There was...
Because Jodie had a scene with the hood. And a hood. There was a scene where Jodie took a hood off.
Well.
But
that was the promo, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
Jodie,
yeah, something like that. But, yeah, no, the episode itself was great. What, hang on. So, ow. Do you like the idea of a unit spin-off?
I think they could do it in a good way. If they frame it a little bit like Torchwood and they go down a bit of a darker route, I think that could be a pretty solid spin-off. I'd
love a unit spin-off. And maybe even featuring Catherine Tate every now and then. I'd love it.
I think Catherine Tate kind of has to come back because one of the things, again, this might be skipping forward a little bit, but kind of something that did seem a bit off is that Rose was obviously in this episode, but didn't mention anything about the 14th Doctor, which is a bit odd. Like, there's two kind of theories going around at the moment. The 14th Doctor would just be sitting at home whilst the entire world was
if also the 15th Doctor has lived the whole of 14's life, and then when 14 dies it's the 15th, surely the 15th knows that Sutek's going to come back, and there's a whole plot hole there. Like, how does that
that is kind of something that does, like, when Russell did this, that causes so many plot holes because it's so difficult to plug something like that, because
like the meme I sent you of the Sutek in Flatline, the mini Scrappy Doo, because the TARDIS
I saw another one as well. Sutek in Listen just rammed up Peter Capaldi's ass because he sat on top of the TARDIS.
Oh no. Oh, the Day of the Doctor, and there's like 5 Suteks.
It's just all of them.
Oh god, no, it's funny stuff. And I saw another meme as well. It was from the Empire of Death. It was me doing a group presentation, and it was when they're all shooting at Sutek, but Rose is just in the background scrolling on an iPad. I don't know if you saw that in your thing. At the start of the Empire of Death, all of UNIT is firing all their guns at Sutek, and if you look in the background, it's just Rose Noble sat on an iPad just like scrolling.
One of the things I would say as well is Rose was a little bit useless in
Didn't
this
need
episode.
to be there. I liked that she was, but she didn't need to be there.
I just don't think she did like that much. Like, she's basically as much of a background character as like one of the unit troopers would be standing in the background, and like a couple of lines kind of played on, like Flappy Bird on the iPad for a bit,
No, definitely, I agree, and I think that the time window was a great add to the episode.
Yeah, I think it was quite a
suspense.
Good. And it's also nice, like, because they had that like back and forth between the Doctor and Kate Stewart, sort of saying, like, it's almost something that they weren't supposed to keep, but the Doctor's like authorizing them to use it, and he kind of knows that they've kept it this entire time. But,
and something we haven't mentioned as well. We'll get back onto that. My mind's rambling. The cold open when the Doctor goes, "Susan's the name of my granddaughter." My head was like, what? My head was like, what's going on? Is we actually getting Susan?
One thing that I would say is I think that was too much of a cold open. I think they should have had like a bit of... The episode just opened with the TARDIS flying into UNIT. Like, I would have liked to see a little bit of like them like sort of finishing from Rogue and then sort of going, right, we're going to go to UNIT and find out who your mother is.
Well, that's something this series lacked, is just TARDIS conversation. That used to happen a lot in Doctor Who, even in Matt Smith's era.
It would have been nice to just have a little conversation, then fly into UNIT, and then obviously that line, and then the title sequence rolling. Like, I think that would have been nice.
No, I agree. And, but going back to what we were saying with the time window, I think the time window was just so suspense the whole time. And when Chidozi died, you could see the Doctor was impact, and the stare that Kate gave the Doctor when Colonel Chidozi died is like, he's done this, he's killed him basically.
That is like essentially his fault.
Yeah. Because Kate's the top dog of UNIT. The only person who can override what Kate's saying is the Doctor, and is where the clash
that's a weird thing as well. Like with Shooty, that didn't feel very Doctor-like to me, to send the UNIT soldier to go and see it. Like, I think the Doctor should have, usually, if it was any other incarnation, the Doctor would be like, right, you will stand back, I'm gonna go and see.
Yeah, why didn't he do that? No, but I think it's because he was making sure Ruby didn't run, because Ruby tried to run, and he was like, no, but how come she can't move, but he can? You know what I mean? It's sort of imbalanced, but...
and as well, like, coupled with, like, one thing that I did feel like was a little bit overused was Shooty crying in every
my mum
single
thought
episode.
Every episode he was in, besides the one he wasn't in.
And it's just like, it takes impact away.
It does,
because usually when, like, David Tennant, when he was driven to tears, it would be in the most impactful moment, and it would like fully pull on your heartstrings, whereas it felt a little bit less in some of the moments that were supposed to be more tense in this season.
The rule I've heard with stuff like that is you see an actor crying, it takes away from you crying. If you see an actor try not to cry, then it makes you want to cry even more. And I feel like that's it.
Yeah, I feel like it should like directly impact the audience more than it should have in some stuff. Personally, there was definitely parts of this season that were impactful, but there was some like parts that I just felt like, unusually like, oh, this wasn't as impactful as it should have been, if that makes sense.
No, 100%. And with, every actor plays the Doctor in a different way, and each incarnation of the Doctor is different. And this one is obviously very in touch with his emotions, which I'm not, I don't feel is a bad thing, but also it does sort of kill it a bit when it does get intense. But then again, thinking back, every time he's cried, it is valid, When Ruby got shot, that's valid. Cry. Your friend's just died in front of you. Racially abused. You should cry and get angry because you can't save these people.
I feel like he should have gotten more. He should have probably used more of the anger. Like
in the Legend of Ruby Sunday when he punches the.
I think that should have been more of a thing in that specific scene, because, also I think something that I didn't really mention is I think that scene could have been the Doctor was just kind of stood there in that one spot, and he was just kind of just there, kind of angry in that one spot, and I think he should have 100% just ran up to the end of the rails and been shouting to her, just come back, and then he gets to that point where they just go part and no return, and then he's just I think he should have walked back from the end of the rails and then been should have been damn, and then just kick something or something like that. I think that would have been more impactful than what was
just crying,
there.
Just
if that makes sense.
No, I agree. I agree with that.
But back to
present day. Where was Shirley in this episode? Wheelchair Shirley. That's horrible. Makes it sound like I'm calling her a nickname, but just so we know who we're talking about. Where was Shirley?
The explanation which I've heard going around online is that she was on holiday.
So they just replaced her with Lenny Rush. Whilst on holiday.
Obviously, she was chilling in the Maldives.
But why have they done that though? Because obviously she's not actually on holiday. She's a character. So why has Russell T Davies not included her?
I think personally, maybe she wasn't available for filming or something like that.
Maybe.
I feel that can be the only reason personally that it would have been I think that could be the only reason for why they wouldn't include her in this episode, because she was kind of the chief scientific officer of UNIT.
Well, that's what it is, isn't it? It's just she was so important and the fact she was just replaced, or on holiday.
Because she was like chief scientific advisor for unit. She replaced the Doctor's role in unit. That's a pretty important character.
No, definitely.
To just kind of like swap out.
No, definitely. It was.
Lady Rush was good, but like, it just felt odd, if that makes sense.
Definitely. So, but besides that, the Harbinger reveal in this episode.
That was good.
It was very good. I had something off about Harriet the whole time. New character. Who's this? She seems a bit odd.
Yeah, she did seem a little bit off as well.
And when she was possessed, I was like, oh, what's this? And then, Kate, who is she? What's her name? Harriet Harbinger. Harbinger. And I was like, oh.
That's something that, that was a nice reveal as well. And it was, I also like the prosthetic masks as well that they used for Susan Triad.
Yeah. That was scary stuff at 1 a.m.
Scary, and then obviously the guy who voiced Sutek back in the Pyramid,
Gabriel Wolf,
back to voice him again, and that voice, it's just so good.
There was also a mention of the Beast, wasn't there, where Carla said the Beast, and I was like, is this the Beast? Because it sounds the same, and it's the same voice actor who voiced the Beast from series 2.
Yeah, because he did as well, didn't he?
So that to me, I thought, oh my god, the Beast is back, but no, just Gabriel Wolf's back. But no, I liked the Harbinger reveal. Speaking of reveals, where did Sutek get his graphic designer from to do that? Susan Technology, Susan Tech, Sue Tech. Who did that? Why is Sutek gone?
Personally, I think it's a very cool way to reveal it, but realistic. It's not that realistic. Like no. It feels out of place, if that makes sense. It would have been nice if they would have done almost like a binary reveal where the bits of the binary disappear and it leaves Sutek.
Yeah.
That would have been kind of a more interesting way to reveal it, I suppose.
And also, Shooty says after that it was the wrong anagram, when Sutek's not an anagram of Susan Triad Technology at all.
Yeah.
There's no K in Susan Triad Technology. So it's not an anagram, is it? It's just you put an extra letter in there.
I do like how they kind of played on that us as the audience would figure out the anagram.
Yeah.
For the anagram for S Triad being TARDIS, and then obviously Susan sort of being that kind of thing. I feel like it's nice that they kind of clocked that we'd get that anagram beforehand, because they were like, even I knew that one.
It was sort of poking and laughing at us, and that happened in the Empire of Death as well with Ruby's mum's reveal, which we'll get onto in a minute. When the Doctor said she's important because we think she's important. Well, yeah, everyone had been bigging up that she's important on the internet, and that's why she was important. She was important because everyone on the internet was like, well, she's important but it turns out she was a woman, but she's still important. Which Russell likes to play on the outside world. It's same with in the Giggle. When unit all have that thing inside of them that stops them going insane, and then the Vlinx takes it out of Kate, and Kate goes to Shirley. You're not a real wheelchair user. I've seen you walk, right? But that's Russell's playing on the actual world, because that's what the comments about Shirley were saying online. They were saying, we've seen you walk, because she's not actually paralysed. She just struggles to walk. So that's
weird, because at that point I just couldn't help but kind of laugh, because it's just something that Kate just would
never say. Yeah, but that shows the effects of the Giggle, how bad it was. It would turn even the nicest people. Leaving the Legend of Ruby Sunday there, we then move on to the big one, the big closer episode. What were your overall thoughts of this episode whilst I check a text message on my phone?
Again, I just absolutely loved this specific episode. I think it works very, very well with the part one. Legend of Ruby Sunday works really, really well with Empire of Death, and again, I just thought it was a longer episode, but it felt like it went past. It just flew by.
I agree. 55 minutes went by 55 seconds.
And that's just something that yeah. So I personally, I think these 2 episodes were the strongest of the series for me personally.
Yeah, I think they were my second favourite. I miss 2-parters more. I feel like I like a 2-part in the middle of the series.
Yeah, because usually they do like an episode 3 and 4 2-parter.
Yeah, the only time I remember they haven't done that is series 8. There was only one 2-parter, which was the Death in Heaven, and I can't remember what the sequel to that is. Death in Heaven. What was the? Let me get on the Google.
Death in Heaven.
Series 8, Doctor Who. Closer.
Dark Water.
Dark Water. Dark Water was the first one, wasn't it?
Yeah, Dark Water, then Death in Heaven.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, no, that was the only time I remember that not happening.
And they did technically, kind of interesting as well, talk about the parters. In both series 9 and 10, they did 3-parters, which is kind of interesting as well.
I like that though. They did that in series 3, yeah, with Utopia, Last of Time Lords, and Sound of Drums. God, my brain's.
I think we do. I think that would be kind of cool to explore for like a big shooty story, because like if they were to bring back like a 3-parter.
Hang on, I can hear you. I can hear you twice. Why can I hear you twice?
I'm an echo.
Oh, there you go. You're back to normal again. I don't even know. Right, anyway, back on. Yeah. No, they did a 4-parter. No, they did a 3-parter in series 4, didn't they, as well?
Back in classic Who, though, they used to do like 8.
Why can I hear you? I can hear you twice. Wagwan. Hang on. Talk again.
No.
I can hear you twice. Why can I hear you twice? I don't know.
I am Omega.
I don't know. We'll quickly skim through this. So the last one now. Yeah, there was a point in the Empire of Death where the Doctor lost hope, and when it didn't just go from Sutek's destroyed the world or the universe, I'm gonna fix it. He was literally like, this is it. This is the end, and I like that.
That was like a big, almost like big climax moment, like this. I forget what the actual film term is for it, but it's like where you all hope is lost moment kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is it's nice to see that in a Doctor Who episode, because a lot of them it's kind of like the Doctor can fix something quite easily, whereas in this he's like, I just genuinely don't know what to do.
Yeah, that was it.
Sort of thing.
That was it. And Bonnie Langford was amazing. Getting possessed.
Oh yeah. Again, that's kind of. I love that they brought back a classic companion.
I love that as well.
But gave us so much more to do, because from what I know, I don't think she was very she did a lot in the Sixth Doctor's era. She was a companion, but I think she was just kind of there, and because I think so I think she was just kind of there for that sort of era, and then but it's nice to see that she had a lot more to do in this episode. And again, Kate as well, I've got to say, I thought it was good that Kate had a lot to do in this episode, because in some of the episodes I think she's just there for some of the episodes she's just kind of there, and she's kind of there to say, I'm Kate Stewart, head of unit.
When she died at the start, it sort of took away from it, I thought.
I didn't find that impactful. I think
because she's coming back.
Later.
She's coming back. You know what I mean?
I just think that
I liked her speech. A little. Yeah. There will be birds. I like that, but I didn't like the fact because she's coming back now. Sutek's not going to defeat. I think what they should have done is let Sutek defeat the universe, and that's it. That's the end, and then we're still left on a cliffhanger for the next series. Because then that would have made Sutek seem more powerful, but whatever.
Or whether he destroys the universe and then we find out that this was just another parallel universe, 73 yards.
Ooh,
that
imagine.
Would have been so cool. You just it just starts at the beginning again. It's just crashes into the unit.
Well, people complained that Sutek didn't do much. But if you watch the Pyramids of Mars, he just sat in a chair the whole time. He doesn't do much. He's just scary.
I've heard a couple of comments of people saying that he was just sat on top of the TARDIS because the CGI budget wasn't there to make him walk around. But
Disney's budget is huge.
I think it's good that he was just kind of like he had a grasp of the TARDIS, and the Doctor can't get into the TARDIS. He had to basically He had to basically use the memory TARDIS, which was a nice little a thing as well, because he couldn't use his own TARDIS, which is big when you've got like a universe ending threat.
Definitely, the fact they take away the TARDIS, and I liked in Wild Blue Yonder they took away the TARDIS and the sonic screwdriver, because that's the 2 get out of jail free cards for the Doctor. You actually have to survive without the TARDIS, which is hard. I mean, the memory TARDIS was obviously still there, so it still had a TARDIS, but I liked how it was kind of just thrown together as well. It felt like the junkyard TARDIS a little bit. Yeah, that's what I thought. From the Doctor's wife. So, but tell me, what do you think about Ruby's mum's reveal?
Personally, I really like the reveal, and something that I was going to say before about the whole cloak thing. Considering that Ruby's mum was supposed to be 16 at the time, what 16-year-old do you know who walks around in boots and a cloak?
The cloak, the boots I don't understand, but the cloak, maybe to protect our identity so no one knows that she's got this baby that she's given away. But still, it's the middle of the night, just lob it on the door and run.
When you were 16 years old, did you just have a cloak in your wardrobe?
Yeah, of course.
just in case.
Just for the fun parties. But no, I liked the reveal. I was disappointed at the night. I've got my reaction, which I'll play if I can be bothered, but I probably can't. It was just me going, oh, it's a woman. It's just a normal woman. And I was a bit disappointed. But then I realised, who cares? And I think the secret is still in the father. At the end of this series, when Ruby's in the TARDIS, it gave me Harold Saxon vibes. You know, at the end of series 3, every episode there was Martha's mum being like, you need to stay away from the Doctor. I've heard things from Harold Saxon. And everyone's like, who's Harold Saxon? Who's Harold Saxon?
Yeah.
And the phone call being like, they think they found my dad. Russell said her story's not over. Her family story's not over. I think the mum was a red herring. Everyone's been bigging up who's Ruby's mum. The mum's actually not the one we need to worry about. It's her dad who can make her snow.
Nobody's talked. And again, her dad seems to be a bit more of he seems to have caused the problems within Ruby's mum's relationship and been the issue for why Ruby's mum was essentially forced to leave Ruby outside of a church.
Yeah, so. And Russell said on the post the day that the Empire of Death went out, the hype up post that he does every Friday before the episode goes out, he said, who is Mrs. Flood? Who is Ruby's mother? Who is Ruby's father? We still don't know.
Yeah.
So I reckon he's going to be important. And all I'm going to say, his name's William. Roger App William.
That could be quite an interesting one to think about as well.
Well, you never know.
Mrs. Flood was good as well.
I loved Mrs. Flood. Mrs. Flood.
I just love
sorry to cut you off. She changed her accent, I noticed as well. If you look at the church on Ruby Road, she's very Cockney. She's like, no, that's not Cockney. She's Cockney, right? She's Cockney. She's like, never seen the TARDIS before. But then at the end of this, she's like quite posh, talking like this. The Doctor's story ends in absolute terror. Night, night. You know what I mean? So she's changed her accent. So what's going on there?
There's quite a lot of things that I would say in this season which strike me as kind of odd. And
yes,
I'm probably going to say one of them, but obviously the big one that people have been talking about is obviously so many fourth wall breaks in this season, and the fact that a lot of these are coming from Mrs. Flood kind of makes me think she's going to play quite a big role to essentially break the fourth wall and kind of. I'm excited to find out.
I'm excited to find out who she is. Yeah, I really am excited. But I'm excited for Series 2. We know there's a Harbinger in Series 2 from leaked screenshots. So, Pantheons and Gods. Have you seen that screenshot? There's an episode with a cinema, like an old-fashioned cinema. You know, in like, I don't know if they still do it in America, but in like old-fashioned cinemas, they'd have like a billboard outside with like, it was like a white billboard with like black letters on it, being like, tonight there's Cars 3. You know, stuff like that. Basically, there's a scene where Shooty and Millie are running around the corner, and on the big cinema screen just says Harbinger. So we know there's a Harbinger in series 2. So we know Pantheons of Gods aren't over. So there's still hope for the Trickster. I love the Trickster, so I hope the Trickster makes us show up.
Again, that makes me think as well, because like the Trickster would be so good, and obviously I think what you're referring, I don't know whether you're like referring to the episode where we got like the leaked of like basically filming.
It was filming.
We had the new companion, and that was kind of leaked in that.
That might have been.
Shot,
I can't remember. It was a while ago.
On a pier or something like that.
Oh yeah, Sarah Jane died on a pier. Her friend died on a pier with the Trickster. Is that what you were going to say?
That's what I was going to say.
Sorry, I took that away from you.
The Trickster always kind of he seems to sort of like, there's always a certain sort of environment in which the Trickster sort of pops up in, and like in all the episodes with like Sarah Jane and stuff, he seems to like pop up in these kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, but like environments that give off like a certain vibe. So there could be a possible.
Maybe we will see the Trickster in series 2, but unfortunately that is all we've got time for. So thank you very much for joining me today for this great conversation. If you want to see more of us two together talking about Doctor Who, we're doing a video for Dan's channel now, which will be out in about a week and a day, maybe. And I look forward to that, and I will see you there.
Yes.
Thank you, man. Bye-bye.